The future is here and it's uneven. We have 3, maybe 5 people on the team who are AI geniuses. Literally, their output is going to match the entire rest of the company.
When humans inject themselves into the AI interaction, they impose all the biases and limitations that make it so hard for humans to create diverse content. And AI is unbound by that and will create anything relative to the objective.
Isn't that the one thing that we're certain AI is going to replace? We've seen it. I am not on the gravy train, but I do know that the creative stuff, it is there.
2020 to 2025, I think everybody had a really good year. Everybody had a really bad year in there. So I want to reflect on what was the best part, what was the worst part, and what we do differently.
I remember very vividly, we ended up having to lay off 100 people, went through a complete reset of our business, transitioned everything into this sort of immense focus on the overlap of marketing and finance, clear shift towards profitability.
The hardest year looking back to 5 years ago was, I would say, 24. And then this past year in 25, we saw substantial growth again.
A US only Ridge store, we acquired 600,000 wallet customers in 2025. So how am I going to grow that next year?
I think things are going to change. They always change. Because if we had to do the same thing over and over again for the next 5 years, we'd be miserable. Brand is something that maybe AI can't replicate.
Welcome to the Operators Podcast. My name is Mike Beckham, and we are proudly brought to you by Fulfil, Aftersell, Richpanel, Northbeam, Saras Analytics, and Postscript. We are a community for entrepreneurs that are building things. And if you want to be a part of this community, you can listen to the podcast, but you can also go sign up for our newsletter. A ton of awesome information in there. We also partner with E-commerce Fuel, a forum for you to connect with other entrepreneurs that are building businesses where we can learn from one another. So, without further ado, on to the pod.
Dealing with big box retailers means EDI connections, and that's often a trigger for needing an ERP system. We've been using EDI connections to Costco forever, and the only way that we've really solved that problem to make it seamless is through Fulfil. EDI adds complexity to everything you do, and Fulfil solves that complexity with their connections to their systems. You need Fulfil to move from being just a D2C brand to being a true multi-channel brand, because big box retailers are going to require you to connect to their systems using EDI. Let me tell you, it's way easier if you do it with Fulfil.
Welcome to the Operators Podcast. I have 2 of my favorite people on earth here. Katy, who's a regular, a new gold star member of the Operators family. She's going to be on every episode going forward because we fired everybody else. And we have Taylor Holiday, the most famous agency operator on earth. Today, we just want to sit down and talk about, different perspectives in this podcast. Taylor recently had some big news. I mean, maybe not that recent anymore, but sold his agency, or he brought in a partner to his agency. So we're going to talk about that. We want to talk about what brands should be focused on right now. How can they win? We're talking about my favorite Taylor Holiday tip of all time. I have a whole big list of stuff to talk about. 2020 to 2025, I think everybody had a really good year. Everybody had a really bad year in there. So I want to reflect on what was the best part, what was the worst part, and what we do differently. We'll kick it off to Taylor to start.
That is such a roller coaster of years, right? 2020, 2021 through the first half of 2022, you're in euphoric hysteria, in this tailwind, everything's going great. It's all going to the moon. Buy your NFTs. We're all going to make it. We're going to be China. There's going to be 30% e-commerce as a percentage of retail. And then as fast as it all went up, it came down. The second half of 2022, I remember very vividly, there was a specific customer that we ended up, parting ways with the second half of that year. And that was this indication that every customer just decided at that point, it's no longer a game about top line revenue. There's no more available capital. All of retail is opened back up, and it just stopped. The second half of 2022, I've told the story many times, we ended up having to lay off 100 people, went through a complete reset of our business, transitioned everything into this sort of immense focus on the overlap of marketing and finance. It was a clear shift towards profitability. And that sort of led to forced sort of this novel positioning for us that actually really transformed who we were as an agency. And then 23 and 24 were sort of our comeback story. 24 was definitely our best year ever. 25 has been another great year. And then we ended up selling halfway through this year. So that's our very fast version, but we mimic the industry. We are so much a byproduct of the health of all of you. And so that was it's been a crazy journey through what has been a very volatile 5 years from my seat.
Taylor, do you think you're a preventative metric? So your health is ahead of the market, or you think you're downstream from the market? I think
given our present position, we're actually inverse to it. So because now we've sort of centered on, you've got a problem, we're going to help you resolve it. The more problems there are, the more there is demand for what we do. But at the time, I think we were sort of a leading indicator because most of our deal structures at that point were a variable on percentage of spend. So as soon as everybody pulled the brake, our revenue fell off a cliff faster than theirs even did. Because what happens for everybody is that generally speaking, you can ride your existing customer revenue base through some period of profitability before the decline of new customer acquisition catches up to you. So, but for us, it's instantaneous. The second you stop spending, our revenue at that moment had fallen off. So the way we were previously designed, we were very much a leading indicator. That's actually what allowed us to see where it was all going to go quicker and change who we were, I think.
But surely all your accounts weren't, because my years that were hard are very different from your years.
Well, interesting.
So, and I feel like even in like our chats, like you know how it is, like in the big groups, people are like, is anyone else seeing bad or whatever? And then people chime in, and there's always like the outlier, like Sean, this Q4. It's like, oh, I'm crushing it. And we're all like, oh no, new customer acquisition is really hard and the whole thing. But surely you had like groups that would, right? Like some were doing really good and some weren't because.
So you have to think about the portion. So we service what we would call, it's like the Shopify mid-market, 5 to 50 million. Okay.
Yeah.
And the effect of the decline of efficiency of new customer acquisition is lagging relative to your size. So let me try and explain this in the simplest way, is that the bigger you got during COVID with new customer acquisition, the longer it is until you feel the effect of the decline of the demand, because you thrive off this existing base, and your margin it'll actually feel more profitable for a little bit.
But that's only because they're not monitoring their new customer acquisition rate, right?
Well, no, it's because that doesn't show up. Yet generally speaking, new customer acquisition doesn't affect the P&L in the short term, right? Like most contribution margin is generated for a lot of brands off of existing customer revenue because they're driving their new customer acquisition at fairly slim acquisition margins.
Yeah. Well, subscription can definitely plan like that, right?
No, not even subscription. I'm saying like hard good is, let's even if you're like first order profitable at a small amount, that's still not going to drive the vast majority of the contribution that flows through to that month's P&L.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about negative contribution. Like subscription will go negative contribution on first order. Yeah. I'm talking about even hard goods where you're break even or slightly profitable on first order. That's still not going to generate that many incremental contribution dollars at scale.
Mm-hmm. Well, because even a company like Ridge, which has very little return on customer rate, we have so many customers that like in any given month, I have 10 million customers. Some of them are going to come back, right? So
and even in apparel, that's like, okay, you guys would be an extreme version, Sean, because you have so little LTV. But apparel, let's say you have like a 100% increase in LTV in a year, and you're like, we were working with at that time like with like Ann Taylor Loft. Like this is a company with like 10 million customers, right? Like that they could exist off that base of existing customers for like years. In ways. So the decline for them is very lagging in many ways.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even see it. Like a saving grace for us this past year was that we really put a lot of focus on LTV and AOV. And we have such a strong returning customer base, like coming back and buying, that just those two things increased our revenue so much that showed growth without our new customer rate, right? Like now this next year, we're like, we got to fix new customers so that we can really crush it. But
and once you get to 10 million customers, like Ann Taylor Loft, or I think Ridge has crossed that this year. There's very few new people to actually go out there and get. It's like actual net new people
for
are actually
Ridge,
hard to find, and it's reactivated
just for Ridge.
Yeah, and or even for Ann Taylor Loft, I'd assume like how many professional women are left after 10 million.
Well,
in America?
I think a lot of brands though, like at what point do you consider somebody new again? Like I could go shop at Ann Taylor and then maybe not buy anything for 4 years, but all of a sudden I get a new job or, a trend emerges. I think it's what do they consider new customer again too?
And that's something I think is going to change like in 2026 is this idea that a true new customer is like a unicorn. It's really just about this reactivation number. And it's like, if they haven't shopped in a year, they're
new customer for the same product type. I think new product types do open you up to that unicorn, right? Just with a different product.
Because you're starting from a base of zero.
Yeah.
But Katie, you said you had different years.
You're exactly right. There's one of the things that we look at with every customer is what we call their active customer file, which is how many customers are in that state between when you would make your first purchase and your 80th percentile of customers that would make their second purchase. That window, you're considered an active state before you churn. Klaviyo has a distinction for this. And I think that the size of your active customer file is actually the best predictor of your future returning customer revenue. But most people look at their overall customer file, which grows like this over time. But the reality is many people's active customer file is in decline.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, operators? Welcome to the Richpanel ad read. Richpanel has been a sponsor for over 12 months. I've been a paying customer for over 12 months. And guess what? I just renewed to pay again for another year. We have cut our SaaS bill in half, and automation dropped our cost per ticket by 70%. Our CSAT has also improved from 88%, which is still really good, to 96%, best in class, all powered by Richpanel. I told them last year, hey, you guys need to do the same thing with returns. And now Richpanel has a returns portal. It's built to cut down your tickets and convert more refunds into exchanges. They do the heavy lifting, data import, self-service, retention flows, team training, all of it, and it'll be live in 2 weeks. If you want to save 30% guaranteed on help desk and now returns, book a demo. And so inside of Meta, I think we'll start seeing changes to actually go after active customer file. Just like how in 2025, like the number one thing people talked about was incrementality. In 2024, the number one thing people talked about was contribution margin or whatever.
What is this next? Tell me, Twitter kings, what is this next year's word going to be? What do I need to start practicing into my vocabulary right now?
Yeah, we have to come with a better term than active customers. Like there's like maybe like, yeah, like true customers. I think that's people are going to actually start.
Okay, well, everyone heard it here. Sean said you better start tweeting about active customers if you want to get ahead of the trend on Twitter.
Well, Taylor has a different one.
What's yours?
Service-enabled
Sean,
agencies.
it's named after you,
like
your namesake.
Oh, I saw that. I thought about that. Yeah, it is your namesake.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I want to talk about your journey for the past 5 years, Katie. So what was your worst year? What was your best year? And what would you do differently?
Oh, God. Well, okay. So going back, I mean, so we've had growth year over year, right? So I would say each year has gotten better and better, but we've had a different set of problems each year and all related to, right, like substantial growth. Like in 2020, 21, 23, we had like 2000% growth or something like that. So it was insane. So what was hard about those years, although I do remember, like you mentioned, the whole like COVID bump, which to me felt like a slingshot, really. Like we didn't see a screeching halt in revenue after that. But I do specifically remember when the iOS update came out, and that really affected a lot of our numbers. And that was in June of 21. Yeah. But it didn't. We had really healthy margins, and so we absorbed most of that. The hardest year, looking back 5 years ago, was I would say 24. Which is weird because a lot of people had really good years in 24. And then this past year in 25, we saw substantial growth again for us. And when I say growth, like ours, Taylor, too, we're only D2C. Like we just opened up Wholesale. So we're not omni-channel. We didn't have the impact of like large retailers closing or Amazon shifting or any of that. Like ours was just straight like direct to consumer. This year, oh God, I don't know, Sean, what the hardest part of this year has been. Last year, it was just, actually, I would say the last 2 years, the hardest part has been dealing with Meta's inefficiency.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up 2024 because if I have to think about my hardest year, like every year had a little bit of bad
Yeah, but they
stuff
were all
going on,
different, right?
Like,
Like it just changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you talk about COVID, you talk about the iOS update. 2022 was a hard year. I mean, we saw gas prices shoot up. That hurts discretionary spending. It ruined our 2022 Father's Day, right? We had a horrible Father's Day. 2023 was awesome, probably the best year. And then Q4 2024 sucked. Like, you know.
And ours crushed.
We talked about like this.
But it can just be like one random outlier, right? Like that affects it. It might not be, and I think it's just so brand specific too. It's funny.
This is where I think like sometimes the benefit of the seat I sit in is that we look at an aggregate all the time. Like, so when I think about how things are going, no individual point, because you're right, Katie, there are brands that are always winning. There are brands that are always losing, but it's the distribution. And if this is like the normal distribution, right, at any given point, the median moves in some direction in that data set. And that's what's the signal to me is like in this period of time, was the median result up or down relative to expectation? I've published like a lot of stuff about the median growth rate year over year across those years in the COVID years, it was like 50+%, and then it dropped to 20. And then I think in 2023 or 4 it was down to like 12% was like the median growth. And so much of this follows the availability of capital is like really the core driver in an inventory-based business of like people's expected growth rates, because it has a lot to do with your availability of financing to determine how much excess growth you can sort of go out and get.
Actually,
there's a lot of other pieces.
You're right. And that's a great point. Like, I feel like in 2020 and 21, there was a lot of brands that were still like VC backed, right? And it was just, the debt ate their lunch. And like what we all know on the brand side is that cash is king, right? And that's what manages it. But I still think in your seat, it'd be really hard to look and see any kind of trends when you're comparing brands that are between 5 million and 100 million, because there's some things about being a 9-figure brand that make things very easy, right? And you can sustain like hiccups in whatever it is. But then there's some parts where, like as a $30 million brand, maybe some of the impacts are harder on different levels. Like I feel like that it's not fair to put everybody in the same bucket, because what's hard at different levels is relative to their size.
Yeah. And, on this, a $30 million brand can double. Like, and that's when you have people like doing like the flexing, like I grew 100% or whatever.
Without their ops breaking, without their inventory supply chain breaking, like all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. The advantage of a 9-figure brand is it's very hard to sync, right? If you're cash flow positive and, you have a team, you have infrastructure, you have systems, and like more or less it operates pretty smoothly day to day. But you're lucky to get 25% growth because it's just so much revenue you have to extract out of the ether.
It's another 30 million, right? Like it's insane.
Yeah. Totally. So Taylor, you're looking at the next 5 years, midway through the decade. Are you bullish on this idea of brand and e-commerce stores and basically what built our fortunes the past 10 years? The next 5 years, are you bullish on that?
I think brand is like one of the constants that exists and I think that's like sector agnostic. Like I think about a lot as a services is what is the brand that I'm trying to create. So I think that will perpetuate forever because identity matters and brand is identity and people care about alignment towards those things. And even if that's individuals becoming brands, I think the principle still is the same. E-commerce, I think, is going to be like an archaic idea. Like I think it's like completely going away. I even though I just wrote my 26
they're just going to shop in their sunglasses, like
everywhere.
AI?
You're going to shop everywhere. Like it's commerce. Like I think that from LLM chats to AR to voice to retail, like the Honest Company just shut down their website.
Taylor, in the next 3 years, you think that people are going to be clicking some imaginary button in their sunglasses?
Oh, I think they're going to be buying it with their brains, probably, Katie. Like without even clicking.
Years, do you know how much
doesn't change in 3 years, we're going to blink and we're going to be back in this podcast in 3 years. And I'm going to be like, hey, where's your sunglasses, Taylor? And you're going to be like, well,
I wear Meta Oakleys all the time and film my kids' Little League games with them and create instant AI highlight clips of every game they play.
Which is great, but you can't share it with any of your friends because none of them own the sunglasses to be able to watch it in.
They're on Instagram every time it's the second the game's over.
Yeah. Okay.
Longtime sponsor Northbeam is launching incrementality later this quarter. This means that you can now have the trifecta of marketing measurement all in one platform. That is multi-touch attribution, media mix modeling, and incrementality holdouts all inside of Northbeam. You can automate that lift testing end-to-end, unify results with your MTA and your MMM. This is a lot of letters, but if you know, you know. And you can start to cut what doesn't work, and you can scale what works. And you can do this all with confidence. This is why this is such an incredible add to Northbeam. Northbeam's incrementality measures what results marketing is actually generating, not just what they're claiming credit for. As a CEO, that's like music to my ears. Sign up now and you can lock in 50% off unlimited tests for the year.
Yeah, but look, I share the sentiment that like a website's going to look more and more like a catalog over time. Right. It's just like the idea of a catalog is archaic, and like you still get them. Yeti sends them, J. Crew sends them, but like it's not how I'm actually shopping. And it just makes sense that like in 5 years, 10 years, like your website just looks more and more like a mobile app today, which is like a weird thing that like some stores choose to have. But
Sean, 20% of our revenue is on our mobile app.
Yeah, you have the perfect customer base for a mobile app. It's like young moms, they're on their phones, you can send push
I know, but that's
notifications.
the whole point,
Like,
right? Is I think like each, like you can't just call it brand. Like there's so many definitions. Like I can't imagine my mom's shopping in sunglasses. I just can't. But like I
No.
can totally picture your customer doing it, Sean. Like totally.
yeah, well, I guess the point I'm trying to get at is like, look, the past 5 years have had their own
Yeah.
challenges, but like there hasn't been very many structural changes.
Yeah.
It's like Amazon's still big, people still go after wholesale, but like the next 5 years is like, is the industry about to, continue to climb up and like we'll see e-commerce penetration go up, or are we on like an edge and like there's a cliff in front of us, and like that's what I'm trying to
5 years
suss
ago,
out.
everybody was saying that brick and mortar's dead, and I don't think it is. I mean, you've seen a lot of growth, right? In your like retail, Costco.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had basically a $2 million wholesale business in 2020, and now it's in the 8 figures, and it is probably the second fastest growing part of our business right now. But we bring up things not changing, like we're talking about shopping on AI sunglasses, and they still use EDI. So it's like that world is very far away. But Katie, you sound pretty optimistic for the independent brand. So where do you think things go for 5 years?
I think things are going to change. They always change. Thank God. Because if we had to do the same thing over and over again for the next 5 years, we'd be miserable, right? Like things have to change and they have to evolve. I don't think we're going to fall off a cliff. I don't think that we're just going to like all of a sudden wake up and Shopify's dead and we have to find a new way to sell these customers. I mean, I started in an age where celebrities were in magazines, right? We just talked about that. Now it's influencers. Like I think with change comes opportunity, and I don't know. I'm even all this AI stuff. Like I think there's so much that we're going to all lean into, but brand is something that maybe AI can't replicate. And I would say in the next 5 years, the brands that probably create relationships with their customers and stay real, right? Like who's going to be the first person to start an AI brand? I don't know.
Well, I want to be clear. I completely agree that I think the future is full of opportunity. I think mature channels favor incumbents and new channels favor upstarts. And so like, think about like what comfort represents as an illustration of like growing faster, maybe than all of you guys. I think, I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Hudson grew like crazy. Yeah.
Right. And so as novel channels emerge, the problem is it's really hard for legacy players to shift their infrastructure into that new adaptation, right? Like they don't move like that. So what happens is, depending on the size of the new thing that gets unlocked, you unlock these bigger and even more emergent things that can, and those legacy channels are still huge portions of the market, Target and Walmart and all of these things. Even websites will exist that way. But the problem is the economics for a new person to enter into those spaces becomes really, really, really challenging because all the digital real estate has been seeded. Like you can't go in and win categorical search on wallets or categorical search on Amazon for silicone rings the way that we did back in the day. That digital real estate is gone. Right. It's like Malibu beachfront property. It's been sold up. So the new place has to emerge for those things to go arbitrage some not net new area of opportunity.
Dude, and I agree completely on that. Is that like the most dangerous advice people ever gave was to not sell on Amazon, because it's so obvious now that the Amazon listing is an asset.
It absolutely is.
Right? Just like your customer list, just like, because they built themselves into such a large incumbent, and you just benefit from that, right? In a way that like it's like being really tight to Walmart, like Mike is. He can get end caps before anybody else. I can't sell my water bottles into Walmart because they have a vendor that they like, right?
And I even think the biggest thing is that, so the biggest battle to be determined to me is like which product gets surfaced by the LLM when you talk to it. And there's a real question about whether that's going to be your Shopify feed, product feed, or whether that's going to be your Amazon product feed or a Walmart feed or a Target feed. And I really think that the most likely answer, and the recent $10 billion investment from Amazon into OpenAI is an indication to me that there's a huge incentive for ChatGPT to make that Amazon, because it's by far and away the best user experience from a fulfillment standpoint.
Yeah, so, I think Meta's already optimizing for Amazon. I think everybody's optimizing for Amazon.
So to your point, like to Sean's point, if you didn't win the retail listing and you aren't the dominant player in that place around that category, that's a huge disadvantage to that space. But there are going to be places where that's unrealized or underappreciated, and I think there's going to be opportunity in that for a bit.
Yeah, and for everyone listening that's not on Amazon, I do not depend on Amazon. I don't think you have to have Amazon, right? Like,
Yeah, but the concern is that if the future is LLMs and Amazon is a leading player in that, they have all the money on earth and they can, buy their way into ChatGPT, then like they win more. It's an incumbent becoming more enticed into everything we're doing.
Do you think though that consumers will be hesitant because they know that LLM's going to lean into paid advertising?
Dude, me and Connor have this debate all the time, like about the consumer, and I think the consumer doesn't care. I think the consumer doesn't care it's paid. I think the consumer doesn't care it's AI. I don't think there's going to be movies in the future. I think people are just going to watch custom AI videos that are designed for them. And he's like, no way. He's like, that's so sad. I'm like, I think it is sad, but I think it's where it's going.
I think I'm going to agree with Connor. I think I'm going to agree with Connor. I think I think actually it's going to put more value on things that aren't AI to a certain customer cohort, right? Like not everybody.
Yeah, and like I want to believe in that as well, because it's like this, like people are going to go back to reading books and meeting in parks and like having fun and like being in the real world. But unfortunately, I think it's just going to be people in their basement swiping, and it's custom AI videos talking about how great they are, and then they buy rich wallets.
That's what I think, because you're just defining men. Women are not going to do that. We're going to be like, we do not want to be in our basements. We do not want to be living in AI. We want real life experience, I think.
Yeah. So let's. We'll see how the future plays out. This is a good 5-year episode. We'll come back with our AI glasses and we'll figure it out.
I'm going to die if in 3 years Katy, I'm the one with the glasses on in here and I'm like, okay, you guys were right.
But so Katy, you're optimistic about everything going on. Now, I do kind of unpack your push into wholesale, right? Because you've just been D2C first. You have a massive 9-figure brand just doing your website and your mobile app. You're avoiding Amazon. Why are you going into wholesale?
Not because I think it's like the next big strategic move and it's going to add a certain, right, like dollar amount to my bottom line, although it will be profitable. I think for us, it's more a stepping stone to what my ultimate goal is, which is owned retail. So, I've kind of our big one in our industry is Carter's, right? That's not doing as great, but it's a $3 billion industry brand that 60% of their revenue comes through retail. And I still think there's going to be a lot of opportunity in experience with retail. And so the way I see wholesale is almost, training my company, right? And every part of it is what's going to work. What is the, what are the SKUs that works? What are the different product types, the product assortment we need? Like I have a brick and mortar right now. I could go open up 10 more, but how interesting is a whole store with pajamas and swim in it? Like I need all the product categories that are going to have the like gifting experience that I want in own retail. And I think going into wholesale right now is going to let me test and really see what does well, what doesn't. And then also I think it's just kind of de-risking myself from Meta. The nice part about babies is it's a life event, getting pregnant, right? And it's like buying a wedding dress and they still want to go in and touch and feel and see in person. And so I do think it'll be a nice like top of funnel move for us too.
Yeah, to unite the two ideas, it's like right now we have a industry-changing event that is like on par with the internet, right? Like Shopify is an e-commerce company. They have to become a commerce company because there's going to be a fight for the LLM chatbot. There's going to be a fight for the sunglasses. Like how those people shop, it's going to be a fight. And the reason why I'm doing wholesale, and I'm glad you're doing wholesale too, is like, it's just a diversification. It's like, look, if the experience, like real life people win and people are back in malls, I need to have some exposure there. And I'm doing TikTok Shop now. I've talked all year about how this TikTok Shop sucks. I'm like, there's no way it's going to work for my brand. Like we're a luxury price point, men's wallet. It's never going to work on this. There's tons of knockoffs. I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to get hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in sales because I just need diversification. I have to try it all.
And you're going to have to follow, like make sure those customers you're acquiring through there are valuable customers, right? Like, because you're still trying to understand if it's a profitable channel or not. I do see the value in diversification for sure, but I don't think you have to do, I don't think there's like one big win, right? Like at some point as a brand, you get big enough where like you've really leaned into product diversification. Like you said, right? Like most of your growth this last year is in new product categories.
Yeah.
All of my growth. Yeah. I think the core wallet business is probably flat, but like that's why I can't tell you where the puck is going. I know the puck is going to move, but I know what the puck's made out of. And that is like, for me, it's product. Like that's what I'm doing is just more products.
And I
then
think
trying
it's
to be
so smart
everywhere.
because what if all of a sudden you don't have credit cards anymore, right? And wallets become obsolete, then you don't have all your eggs in one basket. That's that. Like people are going to still possibly get married and want wedding rings or, right? Like lean into luggage or whatever you've got up your sleeves right now. I think product diversification is probably one of the safest bets brands can make right now.
Sean here to tell you about Saras Analytics and Saras Pulse. Ridge is profitable every single day, and we've taken that super seriously since we built this business. We track contribution margin by day. We look at the SKUs we sell every single day, and we have to do this manually up until Saras Analytics came out. We take all of our SKU level data, we build it into the data warehouse. Everything that goes into making a true P&L, I get on a day-to-day basis. Saras Pulse gives you clarity, so your COO and your CFO and your CMO start speaking the same language. Contribution margin shifts teams away from hoping profits survive the season to managing them in real time. Book a walkthrough with the Saras Pulse team today. Click the link in the description, and thank you, Saras, for bringing you this show. Yeah, and everyone wants to talk about where to sell stuff and how to sell it, like new ad strategies, because that feels instantaneous and sexy and new, and like there's secret alpha somewhere, and it's really hard to make new products. But Taylor, you love TikTok Shop.
Oh, no.
So you want to break down social shopping?
I think it's a giant, like an affiliate Ponzi scheme, but right now it's the arbitrage, right? Like I think what people are finding is that I actually think that the secret here is that the underlying massive cost to run and grow an e-commerce business is actually the creative plus the media, right? So it's this idea that you have to go out and produce all of these assets, and then you have to spend money to distribute them in hopes that they generate some positive return for you in this like marketplace that you don't actually know the price of until you go and spend in it. And it's like that thing is really, really expensive. TikTok Shops did this really smart thing with social commerce, was that they introduced this layer and said, we actually will allow you to outsource the creative production portion. And you can create this affiliate system by which you'll get all of this content generated for you, right? And it's going to generate all these impressions and views for the sake of growing this potential channel. We'll subsidize it for a bunch of time to help all of these people be incentivized to make a bunch of money and make a bunch of content for you. And now they've done an amazing job of making every brand believe that they have to be there for this halo effect. This is like the ultimate move to make people believe, is that like, you have to be here. You're going to make no money. We're going to make all the money. And then you're going to capture the value over there. And you have to do it. And that's what they've managed to pull off. And it's because we're all so desperate for this creative asset of content creator in particular. And they understand that that's like the authentic culture moving development. And so it's like, this is a mechanism to that asset as much as it is the revenue.
Isn't that the one thing that we're certain AI is going to replace? Right? Like we've seen
It depends on who you ask. I don't know. Like
I'm not an AI. I'm not on the gravy train, but I do know that like the creative stuff, I think it is there.
Yeah. And look, and this is what me and Connor debate about. Because when the affiliates have two things to them, right? They have the distribution that they have to pay for, and then they have the content creation. And I think nobody will debate that AI content creation is almost, I mean, I will call at this point indiscernible. I think if you actually can look at an AI UGC video and a normal UGC video and actually tell them apart, you're a unicorn.
And that's us. That's us that see it all the time, right? Like the average person, I agree, cannot.
Yeah, but then will those videos get distribution? That's the question. I think they will. I think people's TikTok feed will just be AI videos. Connor doesn't think so. He thinks people are going to still follow influencers.
The other thing I'll tell you though, and this is again, I work with 200 brands, okay? There isn't a single one of them, not one of the 200 that has more than 50% of their creative production through AI. Not one.
Oh, yeah.
They are so lagging on this. Like
and
it's because the entire system was predicated on this idea that there's a set of brand standards that an individual holds the key to, and everything flows through the gate of this individual person. It's like the most inefficient creative system for the modern landscape you could ever imagine. But that's how it gets gate kept. AI just blows that apart. It's like it overwhelms their system with things that they don't like, and so they like are so slow to engage it.
And I would say 50% is an insanely high threshold right now. I would say the average brand's at
Maybe,
10%. There's one brand I know that is 100% AI, and it's Minerals. And maybe you guys know those guys, but you should check it out if you don't. They just run the most insane AI videos over the top, and they're scaling like crazy. I mean, they'll do high 8 figures this year. It is just like they take a very specific.
Do you guys ever listen to the Mobile Dev Memo podcast with Eric Seifert? Have you ever had him on? He's awesome. If you haven't, you should. But he interviews like a lot of researchers in the AI space. And he had this group of researchers on that did a study recently about human interaction with AI and whether AI could outperform humans creatively. And they did it in 3 ways. One was just human designers. One was human designers using AI. So they got to like, here are the standards, here's the prompts, the output. The other one was like unchained AI, like give it no boundaries at all. Which one do you think won of those 3?
I'd say B.
No, it's the unchained AI, right? Like the one with no constraints. Like when humans inject themselves into the AI interaction, they impose all the biases and limitations that make it so hard for humans to create diverse content. It's because we only extrapolate out of our own lived experience. It's so hard for us I can't be you, Katy. I don't know how to speak to your customer the way that you do, but an AI like is unbound by that and will create anything relative to the objective. And so I think you have to wrestle with that. I think
so you think AI is going to learn how to, because humans, we naturally change all the time. Our behavior changes. You think AI is going to stay in tune with that?
I think it is. I think already the AI would produce better creative if you removed your interaction with it than it does when you try to prompt it and guide it.
I hope you're wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like this is why it's sort of like a weird take on the future. I want to go back to what TikTok Shop did so beautifully is everyone tries to solve, a very small percentage of the actual e-commerce stack, right? Out of 100% revenue, payment processing is 2%, your people is 10%, like fulfillment's 10%, COGS is 20%. And for a typical brand, 30 to 50% is actually just marketing, right? And people always pitch me like different SaaS platforms or new SaaS they could build for e-commerce. And I'm like, look, unless you're solving that 30 to 50% problem, it's just, you're not going to build something very valuable. It's like, build me a software that actually gets new revenue, right? And nobody's been able to do that, right? It's because it's impossible. How do you get impressions? How do you get distributions? How do you actually get new people coming in? And TikTok Shop did it by getting all these affiliates to make a bunch of content for you. And then they packaged the commission, the sale, everything to that distribution. It's just a different way to get, ads. But I also think they're going to stop. I mean, they've stopped subsidizing it. I think TikTok Shop's basically going to go away because the Ellison family's buying it and they just want to control the media.
Well, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because a lot of reason that brands didn't get on TikTok Shops is that there was so many knockoffs, right? Like all the junk that was on there. So, but now if that's going away because of tariffs and like the whole thing, is it a good thing or bad thing that Shops goes away?
I think you want as many distribution opportunities for your business as possible. Like, because the reality is that every piece of digital real estate gets competed down to zero over time. Like, this is like the unfortunate truth of every listing where that's an auction-based environment. There's always going to be somebody that's going to be willing, whether they're subsidized with venture capital or whether they have better LTV than you or they have alternative streams of revenue like Amazon, that's going to be willing to pay a little more for the click and a little more for the click and a little more for the click until the categorical search term for wallets becomes profitable to no one. Like, and then that channel gets disintegrated. Then the next one gets disintegrated. And so the unlocking of new channels is really important to the continued growth of the ecosystem and for brands, because otherwise these stuff just gets bladed down to nothing.
Right. But Taylor, I have one counterpoint to that is that, yes, I would love there to be more channels, more apps, more new ad platforms, because new ad platforms, the first 3 months of AppLovin was free money, dude. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you have to comp that next year, it gets really, really, really hard. Right. So new ad platforms are better for everybody, but I think we're going to a world where incumbents will win more. So if you're not an incumbent, what is going to be the newness that you can actually go in there and win? And it's new products coming out. So it's like consumer taste is going to change. There's going to be some new supplement everybody wants. Like it was creatine for a long time, right? The past 3 years, it's been about creatine. So like if you can't win Amazon for wallets, because I'm there, or you can't win, Facebook or Meta ad auctions because Katy's there for baby clothes, what you have to do is look for new places, new emerging white space, which was creatine. Or right now, I think the biggest opportunity is just pouches. Like people are doing Zyn nicotine pouches for everything, pouches for vitamins. I think that's going to be a huge category, and it's new. So anybody
that's right. So think of everything existing on an XY matrix of volume and competition, right? And so what you're describing is that when trends emerge, you get a period of arbitrage where the volume of demand outpaces the competition, right? And that's what that is. That's like arbitrage, and it shows up in the click price relative to the conversion rate for the brand. Eventually, because we live in a perfectly capitalistic system, all of it gets competed down to zero. And the perfect illustration of this is like what happened with masks in COVID. Like the day on March 18th, the value and the conversion rate of a click of face masks was like not that, like there was no volume and there was a little bit of supply and it was a dead market. And then suddenly the volume of demand went through the roof and a bunch of people made a ton of money for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
Jeremy.
then everybody on earth started selling face masks and the supply completely balanced relative to the demand. Then the demand collapses and everybody has too much supply, a bunch of people go broke. That happened in a ton of industries, but it happened so fast in every category. And this is why, like, Sean, I think I've sort of like lauded you because I think this is where having some sort of moat relative to IP and the protection of your IP defends the collapse of that, those dynamics.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're saying, Sean. That's why it's so important that that's going to ultimately happen in every new category. You've got to be the brand that's willing to go, okay, that one has had its time. I'm on to the next. And then you look for the next big opportunity, because especially with AI, it's probably going to bring that window of opportunity even tighter, because if the like ad buying turns into, well, this is the terms that, right? Like if it becomes so automated that it can optimize faster, then I think hot trends are going to die quicker also.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and going back to the XY axis, the Z axis is new channels, right? So it's like there's new trends, right? And then new trends have attention, and then eventually competitors come in and compete it away. But when you add Z, you could sell different places. So it's like creatine gummies had the D2C moment, it had the Amazon moment. They probably haven't had the retail moment yet.
Yeah.
That's the Z axis. Is that like being the first there unlocks more
Go ahead, Katie. That's why new channels are so important. And I think, but to the point of the defense, Sean, I think one of the things that, again, this idea, like you said, wallets are flat. I think the reality is for most businesses, what happens as a category matures is that it actually declines substantially. And so the new thing that they add on is actually just subsidizing the deficit. So I'll give you a couple of things that we were intimately connected to for a long time. Solo Stove, Ruggable, Born Primitive selling women's leggings. In these categories, what happened was because there was no defensibility at all, you had this massive run-up of demand in these product categories that when they leveled off or when the competition grew and the demand softened, they weren't flat. They were down a lot. And so anything new that they tried to add was just it was like a falling knife and they were trying to stack on top of it. The fact that you can hold wallets constant is like really, really important to the potential for the overall growth. And for a lot of brands, holding the category constant is actually really, really freaking hard because it all gets competed away a little bit further over time.
But don't you think it's because some of those brands grew so fast that they were a lot of trend based? And I think Sean's, like Ridge, has longevity, right? Like I think he's built a really great brand and that's what carries it. Whereas brands that grow super crazy fast, I do think that sometimes they crash.
Yeah, there was artificial demand from COVID that like is part of that story for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like women's leggings are a little different. It wasn't like in the same way the outdoors industry. But if you go look at the SERP page and you type in like black women's leggings right now, there's not a profitable click on that page anymore.
Yeah.
5 years ago, there was a lot of them and you made a bunch of money. But now like a business like Born Primitive, who's an awesome customer and has done amazing work by shifting their business almost entirely in the product categories that they're in, was all women's leggings 4 years ago. But now that product category, Aloe and Viore and like the biggest brands in the world with the most margin and the most money ever are competing. They can't win in that same way anymore.
Yeah, they just got to try something new.
That's right. And so they evolve into new product categories entirely. But for them, they actually have to subsidize the decline, not just like the constant revenue.
Yeah.
And that makes it even more challenging.
If you're scaling an e-commerce brand today, ads alone aren't enough. Aftersell focuses on the one moment that every brand already owns, after checkout, and turns the post-purchase moment into more profit. Monetize every order with post-purchase offers and thank you page experiences without disrupting checkout or hurting conversion. Enterprise-grade tech used by Gap, Ticketmaster, Macy's, and Target, now driving results for brands like True Classic, Hexclad, Ridge, and Jones Road. I would know. This is the reason I ended up buying 3 pans from Hexclad instead of 2. Aftersell has already generated over $1 billion in additional revenue for e-commerce brands, revenue that doesn't require more traffic or higher CAC. So check out Aftersell and tell them that the operator sent you.
Yeah, and it's a sense of paranoia that like eventually, like I wrote this down, but like right now we're all pros. Okay, we are professional athletes. We're pro players. We're playing pro ball. That is acquiring customers, and eventually our leg's going to give out, and we're not going to be able to do it anymore. And you have to have some sort of stable to retire on, right? So if it's good Amazon listings, good wholesale listings, a bunch of diversified products, because when you have black leggings and you scale them from 0 to 50 million, you're like, I'm going to take these black leggings to 500 million, but no, eventually you get wiped out.
Because then the next day people are like, I like red leggings, and then you're like,
totally.
Totally.
Yeah. And Solo Stove, because I'm close with that on a personal level, they did just sell every single person who would ever want one, and they had nothing to follow it up
because they last forever. So you don't even replace it. You just keep your Solo Stove forever.
Yeah. I know Spencer over there, when they were doing like 30 million, they took it to 400 million. And I'm like, that's too big. It's like Traeger grills. Traeger grills are publicly traded. Disaster of a company right now. Right. Great product.
So do you think that a brand can get too big where they can't introduce new product categories because they're the expert in one? Like, did we, Sean, start introducing new product categories at just the right size where we still had kind of like the brand recognition behind it? So when you came out with rings, people were like, oh yeah, it's a great brand. They're good quality. I'm going to try that. But like, if you get so big that you're 500 million Solo Stove and they're like, now we're going to do, I don't know, bikes, then are people like, what? You're a stove company,
Well, yeah, we've had this problem where we'll launch something, and this is actually in 2018. So the wallet business was doing like $20 million a year or something. And we had a backpack, and the backpack was doing $3 million a year. And we shut the backpack down because we're like, it's only $3 million a year. I can't get excited about this. If I would have kept that backpack in market, today it'd be a $40 million backpack, right? And everyone would be so excited by that, but I was too dumb to realize when something was good, right? And so that happens at a really big company. If you're doing $1 billion a year in sales and somebody launches something that does 5 million, you're like, this isn't worth our time, because they don't realize how long it took to get to $1 billion in sales. Like, these things just take forever. And then you get so big, where like your Lululemon, you launch shoes, like your expectations are too high. They want to do $1 billion in shoes in year 1. That is never going to happen.
Whereas their sales in shoes probably is like a really good, whatever, $50 million branch of their brand.
Yeah. And if anyone else did $15 million in year 1 for shoes, they'd be ecstatic, but not if you're Lululemon.
Totally.
The world,
I also think that if you control the distribution, it also gives you a better opportunity as well. Like, back in the late 20-teens, there was a brand down in San Diego here called Skills. I don't know if you guys ever remember this brand. Okay, they got enormous selling like sports training equipment. Think of like mini hurdles, mini basketball hoop, like all these things. They basically would license the IP of these like random tchotchke toys, but they got enormous in distribution through Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods, every major big box retailer, and that was all their distribution. And they left DTC alone. They had none of their own channel. And then what happened was every one of those retailers, one by one, started white labeling their commoditized product and just replacing them on the shelf.
That's what Target did in the early 2000s.
Well, that's what every retailer ultimately is going to do, that to anyone that they think that they can create marginal leverage against, right? Like, if they think it's a commoditized category and they can make more margin, they will do it that way. But the problem was they had no brand leverage. So introducing a new product, Dick's was just like, we're good, thanks. Like, they weren't going to reintroduce that when they're competing against them now in the same place. So in that case, they couldn't develop their way out of it because they had no direct business at all. And so they were a $500 million business with 480 in retail. And all of a sudden those guys started collapsing. There was no way to get it back up over their operating expense against it. And so it's so much of it depends on how do you have the ability to take that new product and control your ability to distribute it to subsidize whatever decline exists. Otherwise you end up in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is why when you can currently acquire customers, you have to do it, right? If you can do it profitably, if you can build up new lines of business, because eventually it's going to get too hard. Okay, this is really awesome. We brought up products a bunch. I'm gonna give you guys some of my product insights. Without a doubt, my biggest win in 2020 to now is launching new products. In 2020, we just sold wallets. We were 100% a wallet company because I shut down that backpack I told you about earlier, right? And in 2025, wallets were flat year over year, and in 2024, they were probably up single digit percentage, basically flat again. And that means for like 2 or 3 years in a row, all of my growth has been everything else. And the company's grown significantly in that time, right? We're talking tens of millions of dollars in net new revenue from other stuff. And that's just because I realized how difficult it is to sell the next person a wallet, right? So I think on us.com, so our US only Ridge store, we acquired like 600,000 wallet customers in 2025. So there's a ton of wallet customers. Now we have Amazon, we have international stores, we have everything else, but that is just people buying wallets. So how am I going to grow that next year? We're talking like, this is the city of Seattle, basically. And I'm going to comp that at least. How do I get that to be 1.2 million people, right? That's just really difficult. I mean, it's a durable good that sells for $100 or whatever. So our expansion has just been all these new products we've launched, and I'm going to continue.
And you're using, I know, Taylor, you mentioned like talking about teams, but you're using, Sean, really the same team for all the different product categories, right? Like you don't differentiate, like, right? Social posts for all of them, and your graphic designers work for all of them. Like there's not specific teams for each product category, is there?
No. So the media buyers are somewhat focused. Yeah, but everyone else, it's the same. It's the same graphic designers, the same studios, same product team, everything like that. And this goes to Taylor when we talk about the marginal increase in productivity from employees. We have 50 full-time U.S. employees right now, which is like the lowest it's been,
not including fulfillment,
so
right? That's people. Just office.
Yeah, that is just office. We don't do any of our own fulfillment. So we have less office employees than we've had since 2022, doing way more revenue. And it's just because we found a way to have a lot of shared resources across all of that. But by the time this podcast comes out, our new brand will be out. And we'll launch a brand called Gut Culture. So this is under Ridge. This is the same equity owners. And I've talked about how great supplements are for so long. It's my first attempt to try to do a supplement brand. So the same team, we put our money into it and we launched it and we spun it out. And there'll be some overlap. Like you'll know it's from Ridge. If you buy from ridge.com, you'll get a sample in your mailer. And we have like a progress bar. You'll probably get free samples in the progress bar. But besides that, it's a fresh ad account. And the goal for the first year is $5 million.
Oh, you're going to crush that.
And if
you're going to totally crush it.
Yeah. But if I launch a Ridge product and it only does $5 million, like that's kind of like a whatever. But I'm like, this goes back to anchoring.
So you're sandbagging yourself on purpose so you can celebrate when you crush it.
I don't know if I'm going to, I've never used recharge before. I've never used subscription. Like I have no idea what I'm doing over here, but it's like, look, if we can hit $5 million, we should be so stoked. It's like, how do we run this thing as as close to profitable as possible? So this is like me going into the world of product, what I think is the most important thing.
I think it's important. Like you saw opportunity in this one category. People aren't doing it yet. And you're leaning in and taking a risk, right? Like, and I think you've got Ridge to carry you through it, really. Right? Like, I mean, how many orders do you ship a month that you're going to put samples in that's like free? I mean, that's like, people pay a lot of money to do that, you know?
Yeah. So it's 50,000 whatever orders are going to get every single month. But I've bullied Mike for so long. I'm like, Mike, you have to sell hydration stuff. You sell water bottles. Like get out of a horrible business. And he launched Trevi. Trevi's been a big success. And I was like, oh, I gotta take my own advice. I gotta get it on this. So fiber first hydration drink.
Well, Taylor, I just think that our job all the time as CEOs is to increase enterprise value in any way we can. And if you're telling me that you can't take the capital that you have in the bank and deploy it against growth of wallets, and if you were to launch another hard good, let's say you added $20 million of a hard good business at 10% net margin, it's $2 million of added EBITDA to your business. $5 million of subscription revenue with a growth rate that looks like this might be worth more to the enterprise value of the business, to be honest. And so I think some of this is just like a good capital allocation relative to the opportunities available to you. And I think you've got to look at, I'll give you an example. In my business, my service line revenue, like meta media buying in Google, is flat. in part because the price that you can charge for it is like on a slope like this. We used to charge 10% of spend to manage a Facebook ad account for somebody who's spending $1 million.
Holy
You'd
smokes,
get paid $100.
you were killing people. That's crazy.
You'd get paid $100,000.
You were taking advantage
That was the
of
market
everybody.
rate.
Do not
right?
pay 10%. That is insane.
Katie, there's lots of people still paying that today. But
Oh
the
my
point
God,
is that the market moves.
You people that are doing that, you call me or email me and I'm going to teach you how to negotiate. That is insane.
That's right. Well, so you're exactly right. What's happening is you're awakening to the market dynamic of what's available to you for a price. And now the price is more like $5,000 to manage that same ad account.
Yeah.
So the underlying service market expectation went from $100,000 to $5,000. And so my growth in that category, well, I can't go, my business is going to grow by more meta media buying. Well, not at all, actually. That's flat or slightly down. But as we get into now, we launch emails as a service or Amazon or the forecasting or whatever it might be. That's the same thing for me. So it's no different. The service expansion is no different than product expansion in your world.
Yes.
And the market dynamics for all of them relative to my opportunity in the future is just like what you're assessing.
And it's the same thing we're talking about. Like your clients ultimately, right? Like trust you. And so if you're like, now let me help you manage XYZ, it's going to be an easier sale than acquiring a brand new customer.
That's right. Exactly.
The ironic thing is actually, it was probably easier to manage Facebook ads back when you could charge $100,000.
Exactly.
And now that it's harder.
Exactly.
Literally,
you can
like
charge
actually,
$5.
yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing right now to win, right? Like how do I plan on Ridge growing as a business? It's like, look, Ridge will still grow this year because of these new durable categories we're in. We have enough capital where I can still expand tech. I can still relaunch travel. I can do all these different things. But like if I have excess capital, I either do another distribution, which like, what's the difference between doing 10 or 12, like $1 million paid out in a year? Who really cares, right? Or I could really try to build enterprise value with new brands. And I want to launch a new brand every single year. But that's what I'm doing as a brand. I want to hear what Taylor is advising people to do. And then Katie, I want to hear what you're planning on doing for the next couple of years. So Taylor, what are you advising people to do?
It's not too dissimilar from what you're describing, which is one, our job at the beginning is to help them set the baseline expectation of the future of the core thing that they have. I think this is a thing that most people are not rooted in reality. So a lot of our job is to anchor in what is true today, that your core business in the future, you can expect this level of growth off of that. From there, we sort of get to hand them back optionality to make the kinds of decisions you're describing, which is that if you think your core business for wallets next year, if someone was like, oh, it's going to do 50% growth next year, well, then they wouldn't make the decision to do the gut health thing you're describing. But when you start to realize like, hey, your CAC is on a declining slope like this, every day the marginal frontier moves closer and closer to you, like you can spend less and less money, we need to think about product expansion. We need to plan some new moment or big swing. We need to think about distribution expansion. And so a lot of our job, because we don't do their product development or even manage their, marketing calendar, so to speak, is to help them anchor in what is true today and the potential capacity of your business for the sake of making good decisions like the one that you're describing. And I think that data clarity and clarity of what is possible out of the core thing gives them back the optionality to go. And then from there, they're making the same kinds of decisions you are, which is, okay, out of this, then, do we need to expand distribution? Do we need to expand product categories? Do we need to take some bigger partnership swing to alter the dynamics of the demand for our product in the present state? Like, those are all the things that you sort of sort through from there on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Katie, what's
I
up with you?
agree. I mean, I don't think there's one big swing. We don't have one big swing lined up, right? Because then you're putting, it's so much risk. Ours is for sure in product expansion, Sean, and not just in the baby too. We're launching pet in the next few months, which will be amazing. And I feel like a lot of people think, their pets are their children. And so it kind of correlates, right, with Caden Lane. I think that will be a big opportunity for us. We have a lot of white space in channel expansion because we have none. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We're going to lean into corporate gifting, which is kind of fun. And then I'm going to try 1,000 different things. I think we actually launched 11 new product categories this last year, which is insane. But like what you're saying, some of them were just $5 million wins. And I think, but if I launch 10 of them and they're all $5 million wins and I get to use the same resources and not overly complicate my operations, then there's a lot of growth opportunity there. And I think that's what I'll always lean into. Like, I just don't see there being one, and then an owned retail. I am going to be massive with owned retail one day.
Yeah. Katie, what your business and my business have a
Mhm.
lot in common, and that I call them blobs, is that like there's a lot of different ways to
Totally.
expand out, right? If you're Hudson at Comfort, you're like, I'm gonna do $1 billion in revenue off a TikTok shop. I have this perfect flywheel, I'm gonna scale it forever. But we're way more like we have to
Yeah.
grow slowly. It's like and the blob
Yep.
eats everything, but just
It
slowly
does.
over time. So like we will get
And I'm
into
okay with
product
that. Like
expansion
I'm
fast.
kind of okay with the slow. I feel like my little thing fell. I feel like the blob feels safe, right? Like I've been doing this for 21 years, and I have seen a lot of rocket ships crash. And I'm not saying Hudson Will Comfort is amazing, and he's had product expansion. His blankets are freaking amazing. But I don't think it's bad to be a blob, Sean. Right?
Yeah. And I hate to pick on Hudson, maybe like a coffee alternative, right? Like they're just like, we're going to do subscription coffee alternative on D2C. We're going to scale that forever. And it works until it doesn't. We're being a blob and just like slowly eating the edges. I think there's a lot of growth there. And then I want to feel like, I always say this, not all of my product wins are great. The reason we launched this new brand, Gut Culture, is I did mini knives on my website, and they cost $350,000 to make them, to buy them, to ship them to my website. And then I sold $42,000 of them in an entire year. And I'm like, well, I just lit money on fire. Like, might as well do it with something that has high upside, not these.
But you're not
knives.
doing it right if you're not failing on some of the product categories. Like, then you're not trying hard enough.
Well,
You know
this
what I
is
mean?
a thing that, like, I think is we have a weird relationship with the way we think about the expected value of the allocation of our money, where like we'll gladly go into the meta arena where we think about the bounds of outcome being like 0.8 to 1.3 as like the expected value of $1 million investment. Whereas like new product categories have such asymmetric upside that it's hard for people to conceptualize like the EV of that bet. So like, they become like dominated by the outcome. So like a mini knives bet, Sean, like it's easy to sort of play Monday morning quarterback that like, oh, it didn't work. But if the percentage likelihood, this is a probabilistic bet on the future, right? If there was a 20% chance that it was going to be worth $50 million, well, then that's a $10 million expected value bet. So how many times can you deploy $300,000 against an expected 10 million? You should do that every chance that you get.
And it doesn't have to be big swings at the beginning. You can ease into it because you don't, right? Like there's always going to be money.
And it means you're going to fail
on
80% of the time. It's a 20% likelihood of achieving an outcome. So most of the time you're going to fail and it's still the right decision.
Totally. Yeah.
Every SaaS company says they are AI powered, but very few can explain what it actually does for the revenue of my brand. This is why Postscript's approach stood out to us. They don't just build AI for demos or buzzwords. They built it to drive real incremental revenue. Postscript's AI called Shopper, it shows up inside of SMS at moments with real buyer intent when shoppers are likely asking questions, hesitating, maybe even about to drop off. Shopper can answer product questions instantly, answer questions about fit, availability, recommendations, order issues, the kinds of stuff that people usually bounce for. This means more conversions, higher AOV, less lost demand, so you are driving more revenue and doing it more efficiently. Check out Shopper from Postscript. We use it at Pilo, which is why I am telling you to check it out.
Yeah, and so our launches, Gut Culture costs about $350,000 to launch, but I'm doing another sleep-focused brand. It was $75,000. So you can launch these things pretty cheap, especially with AI now, bro. Like I 3-click prompt in Lovable and get a website out of it, and it's like, okay, this is the future where this is going.
That's the part of AI I love. It has really simplified some of the things that used to make it really hard to get a brand or new product like on its feet. Right.
So then this is the question I text you guys, because I'm wrestling with this and I'm curious how you guys think about this as brands. How do you contextualize what the expectation is of your people in this world? So like if you can build a brand like the way you described for $75,000, then like what is each person in your company expected to be able to do? Like how high is the bar of contribution for every employee inside of a company?
I know what Sean just tells them you're going to do it. And if you don't like it, get out.
But like, do you have 10 times the expectation of them this year than you did last year? Like how much more output do they have to generate for the same amount of money?
Dude, the future is here and it's uneven. So we have 3, maybe 5 people on the team who are AI geniuses. Like literally their output is going to match the entire rest of the company, right? So we have like 5 people who are doing the same work as 50 people. And then it's getting as many of those people, 50 people, to not be scared of AI and lean into it and try it and experiment with it. And we're using a lot of tools and coaches and teaching to get that done. But like if you get it and you jump in on it, you are really, it's like, people talk about 10x engineers, though you're like a 100x employee if you can go in there and build these systems. But the problem is you can't find those people. You can't hire those people. They either you innately have it or you don't. And then getting them to actually try to be coaches to get the rest of the people.
But they're coming out of college right now, I think. I think that will be an entire specialty, right? That they have. So, but like what you're saying, Taylor, is how do you, if Sean's coming out with this new product category and his whole team knows nothing about supplements or whatever, then how do you get them to absorb the work? Is that what you're saying? Like, or do you just
the expectation
hire
of
again?
I'll give you an example of an experience I have. So we have a marketing team at CTC. And if I were to say to them, hey, I'm going to write a blog. I'm going to write my 26 predictions for 2026 blog. I want you to turn it into a blog post on our website, a deck, a set of graphics for IG stories. They would say, great, we'll get back to you in a week. And they would go off and I'd be like, that was amazing. Thank you for making me better.
Yeah.
In Manus, like while we're talking on this podcast, I made a 26 slide IG story graphic set off of a file I uploaded that's better than any design anyone could give me in a week.
Yeah.
What does my designer on my marketing team now have to be able to do to be worth the same amount of money they were 2 years ago?
They have to be able to do what you just did because it shouldn't be you
at what scale? If I can do it myself in seconds, what do they have to be able to offer to be able to contribute to the ecosystem?
Right. Well, and it's moving. There's going to be less individual contributors and everyone just needs to be more of a manager. But the thing that they're managing is AI tools, right? So it's like, because either you're a one-person team and you do all that yourself, and now that one-person team can do $5 million a year in agency revenue, right, which was impossible before, or you're still going to have all these people, you're going to have less of them managing less individual contributors, right? And you're going to have one head of design, and then they're coming up with, everything you ever tweet is getting put into decks, is getting put into everything, and it's happening automatically.
So maybe more project managers and more communicators to make sure everything's flowing seamlessly, because the flip side of that, Taylor, is you created it so fast that is there other parts of the process, right? And getting something live that's not automated or not AI yet. And then you start to get this backlog, right?
Yeah.
So
the annoying part is I have to go log into Instagram and like one by one upload them into my stories. That's the annoying part. But it's hard to fathom like what the appropriate expectation is of people in this world. That's what I'm struggling with, is like, are you outputting enough? I don't even know what that means anymore. That's what I feel like I'm struggling with.
Well, dude, and that's why, people talk about jobs are going to go away. Right? Like they're like, oh, we're going to fire everybody. There's not going to be any jobs. My argument is most jobs are already fake. It's like what we're doing right now, all of us are being paid for. And 100 years ago, I would have been a coal miner or a farmer. So look, my job's fake. Everybody's job's fake. Anyway, good AI point. I want to end the podcast on some practical tips. I have one that I stole from Taylor, and I shamelessly steal stuff from people. So like, I am not afraid to steal good ideas when I hear them. We do a giveaway every year where we give away a car. I stole that idea from somebody else. I was at a Nick Shackelford event, and so I heard someone say that it worked for them. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to take that. Now it's like a cultural phenomenon in D2C brands. Everybody gives away a car every year. And I definitely took that idea from somebody else. So feel free to take that idea. But that comes from this concept Taylor has about 4 peaks. And it's that like, every quarter, there needs to be a funnel clearing event. So every brand has 2 built in. If you're a female first brand who sells to older women, you might have a Mother's Day, and we have a Father's Day, and then everyone has Q4. What are you doing for back to school? What are you doing in Q1? And so at Ridge, we have an anniversary sale in Q1. We have Father's Day in Q2. We have our car giveaway in Q3, and we do Q4.
But you're forgetting, what about Valentine's and Easter and Labor and Memorial Day? And like, there's more than 4, surely.
Right, but this is 4 leaned in campaigns that are designed to have a big promo attached to clear your funnel. We still run Valentine's Day sales. We'll do a Labor Day small sale, but this is like, we spend close to $1 million doing a sweepstakes
just to fill your funnel,
because it's like this is like a big flagship event. So this is a good tip people should steal. Taylor, maybe you link out the 4 funnels. Do you actually still believe in this? You think
it's absolutely? We call it 4 peaks 3. And Katy, you're advanced, so this is like we're helping people who don't have 4 yet. Usually it's and the key. There's 2 other key points to it. What I would encourage you to do as a takeaway: go export your Shopify revenue by week and draw the circles where the peaks are, and you usually will see some valleys. And the problem with the valleys is that the next thing I want you to do on the overlay of that graph is I want you to draw a point on the line when you have to make your largest PO. Because the problem with the two peaks is that you usually have to make your largest PO in the valley ahead of the big peak. And so that means you have the worst cash position that you have while you have to write the largest inventory purchase of the entire year.
I have anxiety listening to you right now.
Yeah,
You do not need to have these ginormous peaks and valleys, people. Like, spread it out a little bit and place more frequent POs. Like,
well, here's why the peaks matter. Let me give you one more thing.
And the valley is always after the peak also. Like,
that's
always.
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. So you want to be flush with cash when you want to be flush with cash when the valleys come. But the other thing is Meta, which primarily most of the people work on, is constantly a relationship between the price of the ad inventory relative to your conversion rate. And every normal day of the year, your availability for volume is tied to that conversion rate against that price. And what happens is Q4, or Black Friday, all the CPMs go up because everybody's conversion rate goes up. They can charge more and everyone can still make money doing it.
Yeah.
Okay? What you want to create is moments where your conversion rate goes up, but the market price stays constant. This is how you arbitrage efficiency or volume. You can
I have
choose
an example,
which one you
Taylor.
want. Right. So by creating a sale moment or a product release where your conversion rate goes way up while the market stays constant. So we used to work with 47 brand. They made up an annual sale called 4/7 day. Okay. Well, guess what? On that day, their conversion rate goes through the roof and the market price for the inventory stays the same. So you get more volume or you can choose to take it as greater efficiency. That's how you win the game on Meta besides just trying to play the creative hamster wheel game.
Okay. I have to tell you my favorite one we do.
Do it.
And we do the same thing. We shoot. Man, I hope my customers aren't listening to this podcast, but we have our anniversary sale in October because there's nothing else happening in October. And so
you have a valley. You just described exactly what I'm saying.
I have one every month. I don't think
yes.
you should have 12 peaks, one every month, guys. But my favorite hack is, and because I totally agree with what you said, like it's hard. I mean, everyone leans into Q4. It's not our best quarter. I love Q1 because it's baby season. CPMs are lower. I'm not competing with as many brands. Everybody else is like, out of inventory from Christmas, whatever. Okay. So my favorite one is April Fools. And every year we send out a email or a text that says your entire order is free. It's not free, but they all still buy something. And it is our favorite thing to do. And it's just literally because it's just, we call it like we empty the funnel, right? And we calendar out, like we have our complete promotional calendar done until probably, I want to say it's July or August already. And we look at it year over year and we find people use all of these reasons: Valentine's, Easter, you should have a friends and family weekend. You should have a, April Fools, you should have Memorial Day, Labor Day. That is when people have their wallets out and they are converting. And I think a lot of really large brands don't focus on some of those smaller opportunities. And I don't want everyone else to go do it because then it's going to screw up my whole process of winning in that. But yeah, we have like 100 peaks, but 4 peaks is good too.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's intended to be a metaphor, an illustration for an idea.
Yeah.
And if you can do more peaks, but I think to Sean's point, there are certain things that, like when you're talking about large scale efforts of planning and organizational wide effort in the same direction, that stuff does usually take a larger investment in rhythm.
Like giving away a car.
Yeah, it just takes planning and timing that you can't be doing that with your team all the time. So yeah, if you can create 12, by all means, do 365. Why not? Fire away.
Yeah.
Dude, nothing but peaks over here, guys. We're
oh my God. You
time.
just had Q4 and you're such a gifting. I want to be a gifting brand. I want to be where I want all 12 months to be November.
Dude, just crush it with an awesome blanket and then you'll be the number one gift of the year. Katy, I appreciate you coming on this podcast. Taylor, I appreciate you coming on this podcast. Thank you, everyone who's a part of this. Thank you, all our sponsors. Thank you, Katy, for coming on, CadenLane.com, do shopping. Taylor, what do you want to plug?
CommonThreadCo.com. Come hang out.
Okay, we have 20,000 listeners. They love this podcast. They're joining e-commerce fuel. They're on the newsletter. They're liking our sponsors. Thank you so much for being here. I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye.